How old do you have to be to get Alzheimer's? Well, we know that with the rare young onset Alzheimer's, what we sometimes call familial Alzheimer's, there are cases of people developing it in their 30s. In fact, there was one case of someone diagnosed at 21 years of age. But what about the much more common old onset Alzheimer's? We don't typically see these cases in anyone younger than 65. But can someone develop old onset younger than 65? Maybe much younger? The answer appears to be yes. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Dave Brown. Welcome to the Dementia Monster channel. As we discussed in our book, Beating the Dementia Monster, familial Alzheimer's is caused by any of three specific genes. And if you have one of those genes, you'll almost surely develop the plaques and tangles in your brain that signal Alzheimer's. Your brain will atrophy, especially your hippocampus. You will develop memory deficits and subsequently dementia. Fortunately, these genes are relatively rare. There may be only 300 or so families in the world carrying them. But, as with one family in Colombia, people who develop familial Alzheimer's disease provide a rich basis for study. People who will develop this form of the disease in the future are easy to identify through genetic testing, and they are more likely to be free of other diseases that afflict older people. The presence of these other diseases confounds studies of older people with Alzheimer's. But how young can someone be and still develop old onset Alzheimer's? We sometimes call this more common form of the disease sporadic Alzheimer's. This form may or may not have a genetic marker like the APOE4 gene they test you for at 23andMe, and it's relatively unknown in anyone below the age of 65. But research published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease examined the case of a young Chinese man of just 19 years of age who, by all available evidence, suffered from sporadic Alzheimer's disease. He was still living at the time the research was published, and so there was not yet an autopsy to look for plaques and tangles in his brain. However, the available biomarkers all ruled out other potential causes of his dementia. As with me, he had significant atrophy of his hippocampus, and tests of his cerebrospinal fluid were typical for Alzheimer's. The young man began to experience problems with memory and cognition when he was 17 years old and progressed from there. Neuropsychological tests found him impaired in memory and cognition. When his case was evaluated, he had no family history of Alzheimer's, and he had no genetic markers for the disease, neither the genes for familial Alzheimer's nor those that might predict sporadic Alzheimer's. We understand that sporadic Alzheimer's can develop without a genetic predisposition, but familial Alzheimer's does not. The researchers certainly don't have an explanation for this. So, is this one of those weird things that just happens? Some people don't think so. The more we learn about the disease, the more we discover that we don't know. The authors of the research suggested that studying this case and perhaps looking for others might provide important new insights on how and why Alzheimer's develops. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this story as interesting as I did. If you like the content, be sure to give it a like and perhaps subscribe to the channel. Thanks and have a great day.